Aloha, I'm Brickwood Galuteria. Welcome to Kupuna Power, a show for and about seniors. Throughout the show, we will display the senior helpline number 768-7700. Today, we address safe hospital discharge. When my friend Barbara got into a major car accident 10 years ago, she landed in a hospital with multiple fractures to her back, tailbone, hip, pelvis, leg, and shoulders. After 3 weeks, still in traction and casts, the hospital deemed her condition stable and ready for discharge to a nursing home. But the hospital did not have a nursing home ready to accept her. The hospital did not have a clear plan of recovery. A lawyer friend intervened when he saw how Barbara was about to be released with nowhere to go. Even her primary care doctor stepped in and strongly recommended home care rather than months of recovery in a nursing home. The hospital finally relented. They kept her for 3 more days so they could come up with a plan to provide the resources, aid, and rehabilitation for home recovery. To talk about safe hospital discharge is Barbara Kim Stanton, AARP State Director, former cabinet member, and my friend. Now, her own personal experience hits home with so many kupuna. Why is it important for patients to be discharged to a trained caregiver with a safe recovery plan? We're going to find out right now. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Aloha, Brickwood. Thank you for having me here.
The importance of safe discharge.
Oh, well, safe discharge is something that's good for the patient, obviously, but it also is good for the caregiver who is often overwhelmed and unprepared. And it's also very good for the hospitals because under the Affordable Care Act, hospitals are penalized if patients are readmitted within 30 days under the Affordable Care Act for Medicaid patients.
Is it a common practice, or that is kind of treading a thin line there, but are we seeing a lot of this early discharge?
Well, I wouldn't say early discharge, I would say safe discharge is the question.
Okay.
Because we all know that there's a shortage of beds. And so we understand the need for, or the desire of the hospitals to discharge the patient as early as they can. Mm-hmm. However, the main thing is if you're discharging the person to a caregiver, and overwhelmingly after the hospital it's a family caregiver, then you have to make sure that the patient has the correct instructions, because if they don't get the correct instructions, they go right back into the hospital and the hospital gets dinged with a penalty.
Okay, so the caregiver may not be prepared.
It's absolutely true. The caregivers, how many caregivers do you know who have been trained in something like how to give injections, perhaps how to clean a gastric tube, or something like how to dress an open wound? A lot of the after discharge care is getting so complicated that instructions are really essential.
You're a prime example, perhaps, of a situation of safe discharge by the earlier story that we shared with our viewers. Why don't you expound a little bit on that?
Well, I learned a while back that your life can change in a split second. What happened is I was hit in a horrific car accident as a pedestrian. I ended up with multiple fractures and I was in traction. And then after about 3 weeks, the hospital was trying to discharge me, but they didn't give any instructions about how to care for me. It just happened at the time, a friend of mine who was an attorney said, where is she going to go? You can see she's in traction. And he objected strenuously, and he mentioned that to my family members and my husband as well. And they kept me a few more days, and during that time, they ordered a hospital bed. They made arrangements to have an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, and a nurse visit me on a daily basis. And so I was cared for at home, but if my friend, if my attorney friend had not objected, I would have been discharged into what would have been a completely unacceptable situation at home. And that's not to say our home is not one that is challenging. I thought that our home being at one level was just fine. When you are a patient and you have multiple needs, what you find is that there are so many challenges. You need help in bathing, you need help in dressing. It would take me 20 minutes to walk from one area, from the living room to the bathroom. And you find that you're completely helpless. And that's where really good coordinated hospital post-discharge instructions makes all the difference in the world. That's why we're really championing the CARE Act.
You know, and let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because there's something that's moving through the legislature right now. I see it. I see it on my desk. And it's into the final throes of it with the actual, well, it's called SB 2264.
Correct.
I believe, correct?
Correct.
So what this does is it ensures that the things that you're talking about will be required in law.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's not required right now.
no. And that's the thing that was shocking to people. They said, you had a story yourself about showing up at the hospital, I think you said. And one of was it your dad who was not there?
Was it? Well, yeah. The bed was made.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there, and we didn't know where he went.
And didn't you think the worst?
Oh yeah, of course you're going to think the worst. You know, and then there was another incident where an aunt of mine was, you know, we took her in, and she moved from one facility to another facility, and they seemed to be in different silos too, unable to speak to each other in a coordinated fashion. And then late at night, you know, they called to say, you know, we're going to discharge her into the dark of night. Now, these are hopefully worst case scenarios. That it doesn't happen all the time.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Really?
No. About a week ago, we had a telephone call with about 3,500 people. They're online, and we're discussing the CARE Act. And one after another told us what happened. They said, oh, we got a call at midnight. We had no prior notice. Exactly what you said. I showed up to the hospital, and my loved one wasn't there. And we said, wouldn't it have made all the sense in the world to say, have the hospitals have listed as a part of the hospital record who the primary family caregiver is, and then coordinate the care with that person, and also to give them prior notice that if they're going to go home, tell them ahead of time so they don't get the call at midnight and say, oh, come down and pick up your dad or your mom.
Or tell us where to throw them in a taxi to head towards.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a problem for me.
And the most important part, of course, besides designating the caregiver and recording who the caregiver is to make sure that when the patient leaves, that the caregiver and the patient have instructions on what kind of care they need at home.
That's key.
That is absolutely essential.
That's key. Because you mentioned cleaning a what?
Gastric tube. I mean, how many people know how to do this?
Yeah. So the CARE Act that we're taking a look at will require hospitals to provide patients with opportunity to designate a caregiver, hopefully, notify caregivers 24 hours before discharge, and require hospitals to provide instructions to caregivers. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. I got the bill right here. Just want you to know. And we're going to stay on it, and we'll see where it goes. Anything else you'd like to add before we conclude?
No, but this is for the caregivers. It's a triple win. SB 2264 is a win for the caregivers, the patient who it's all about, and also the hospitals. So we do prefer the Senate version, the one championed by Senator Chen Oakland and Senator Green. That is the version that makes the most sense. So we hope everybody will support it.
Okay. Barbara, we support you, and thank you for your advocacy for the Kupuna.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. You know, she shared a very personal experience, a recovery experience. AARP's efforts to ensure safe discharge for all of our Kupuna continues, and will continue. We'll be back after this. Up next, Kupuna Power features another of the Honpa Hongwanji's 2014 Living Treasures of Hawaii. But first, what was the nickname of the Wilson Bridge in Wahiawa?
The Honpa Honganji Mission of Hawaii is proud to present the 2014 Living Treasures of Hawaii. Reverend Chikai Yosemori recognizes the responsibility of practicing what he preaches. He strives to be an example of what he wants to see in this world.
But something as a goal of the Buddhism, we have to live true and real human beings. That means true and real human beings means the not only mouths but to follow the teaching. Of course, I wasn't able to do such things, but at least we can try. Anyway, the main things for me is at least try, what your religion is teaching us. One of the goals of the Buddhism is the Karuna and Maitri. Karuna is taking away from suffering from other people, and Maitri is giving happiness. If I can do that, that really, what you call I can become a true and a real human being. So at least, try.
Reverend Yosemori has clear concepts of what needs to be done now in order to secure a better future.
Martin Luther King, he always said, I have a dream. And they work very hard for that. Because they have a dream, they can be encouraged to work more hard to realize that dream. So for that, we must have we must think of the future. Unless we don't think the future, we cannot improve ourselves. So that's what I am thinking. So and also to think the future is probably broke the net we are caught, by old tradition or old style of thinking. But if we have a dream, if we think the future, we can, break that kind of net we are caught, and can improve ourselves. That's what I am thinking.
Reverend Yosemori believes in the joy that is acquired from breaking down old barriers.
I stand here with deep sense of gratitude and appreciation to all of you for your warm heart, kindness, and generosity. At the same time, I'm wondering whether I deserve to be given such a wonderful award, because a minister's work is an endless one. If I accomplish something, it was not because of my work alone. It was because of a team effort. I was blessed to be surrounded by people with good heart who have always extended their helping hand. For this, I will be eternally grateful. I'll never forget that I have been one lucky guy. When I look back my 50 years as a Honganji Kyodan minister, the world has tremendously changed. We have many problems just living. There are so many issues that affect us and our world. Race conflict, drugs, food shortage, the widening gap between the rich and the poor, homelessness, terrorism, etc. One of the beginning tendencies we have in the present world is that the human viewpoint of spiritual values comes last to the values derived from materialism. People seem to demand more for themselves rather than thinking of sharing with others. One of our first steps we must take to address this is to regain the spiritual value in our everyday lives. It starts with the church and the people like you and me who think of the other people's welfare. The mission of the church is endless work, and we must continue to try our utmost and never give up. I have the great hope because many leaders of all religions of the world are now seriously recognizing the importance of dialogue. On smaller scale, Hawaii is a good example of this. In Hawaii, we started dialogue between religions about 40 years ago and have many interfaith programs. We have a good relationship with each other. We would like to broaden this circle to make it a worldwide circle with the Aloha spirit. For the Honpa Hongani Mission of Hawaii, the first step we need to take for this movement is to establish a fine educational system. The education is the key for the betterment of all living beings. By the way, if I am not mistaken, one of the agenda for our dear Governor Abercrombie is to strengthen the education program. Right, Governor? The Buddhism that emphasizes peace and harmony and how to live for our lives. This is the foundation of a Buddhist education system. I ask your continued support to foster this important foundation for our children, our future leaders. At this time, I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you for the kindness and the compassion you have shown me for the past 50 years. Thank you very much. In closing, I would like to add one more thing. I would most likely have been a minister with nothing without my wife. For the past 50 years, the Mrs. Yosemori has given me this hard Pakihe her full support with the patience and understanding. I am very grateful to her for making me a full-fledged minister. My sweetheart, Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much to all of you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
What was the nickname of the old Wilson Bridge in Wahiawa? The answer is, it was affectionately called the Airplane Bridge due to the sound it made while driving across it. Up next, Kupuna Power introduces you to the Senior Medicare Patrol, which empowers seniors to prevent, detect, and report Medicare fraud, errors, and abuse. But first, what Honolulu building boasted having the largest clock for over 4 decades?
Well, the Senior Medicare Patrol is a federally funded program from the Administration on Community Living. We're housed in the Executive Office on Aging. And our mission is to protect seniors, family members, and caregivers from Medicare or healthcare ID theft, billing errors, abuse, and fraud. Fraud, waste, and abuse is a huge problem. It costs the taxpayers $60 to $80 billion every year. Medicare beneficiaries receive a Medicare summary notice and explanation of benefits in the mail. It comes quarterly. So they need to open it up and look, basically check it for accuracy. We're doing some skits just as red flag issues, what to look out for as far as ID theft and things like that.
Hey honey, what was it you saw Dr. Strangelove for last week?
That was to have him look at that spot on my neck. You remember?
Yeah, well you got the hickey?
Oh yeah. don't be silly.
Was that all there was to it?
I think so. Why?
You have any idea how much that cost?
Who cares? It was covered by Medicare, yeah?
Yeah, most of it, but do you have any idea how much they were charged?
How much?
$30,789.
$30,789. Let me see that. Let me see that.
Wait. $30,789.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree it's ridiculous, but considering all the other things Medicare got billed for, maybe it's not so ridiculous.
Like what else?
Well, let's see. It says here your prostrate exam. Wait a minute. Here's another one on the second page. Bilateral breast implants.
Bilateral breast implants.
That's a big one. Over $30,000 by itself. You've been holding out.
What are you talking about? You know darn good and well I've never had breast implants and a state exam. Come on.
Right there.
This is all wrong. Obviously, they've mixed me up with someone else. Prostate exam for dermatologists and breast implants? Come on, give me a break. You know, if a dermatologist is not going to give them prostate exams, not going to be given breast implants.
If it could be a simple error or it could be a part of a bigger problem. And also is people giving their personal information away. So a lot of people will use that information to bill Medicare for goods and services that are not provided.
You know, you haven't given out your Medicare card number to anybody, have you? I mean, you know, that's the most common cause for Medicare fraud.
After listening to you go on and on, don't give your Medicare, don't give, after you went to that place, you know, with those, what were they, the green shirt people you call them?
The Senior Medicare Patrol guys. Yeah.
Those are the ones. And they said, you know, and you've been preaching ever since, don't give it out, don't give, so you think I'm going to give it out to someone?
You sure?
Oh, okay, but this wasn't anything, this was, I got that telephone call that day.
Yeah.
And it was from Medicare.
Yeah.
And they said, Medicare, my card was expiring, I need to give them the information so they can issue a new one.
your Medicare card had expired?
Yeah.
Medicare cards don't expire. You gave me a Medicare number when you called.
Yeah, I did. So what?
Honey, I think you got scammed. And I think we better call SMP and report this right away.
They need to take that responsibility. The beneficiaries are on the front line to make sure that it's accurate. And if there's an error, to fix that error and make sure that Medicare's credited back for that. It's so that there'll be Medicare for generations to come, because a huge amount of money is being taken out of it every year. If those unnoticed errors go unnoticed, that's a huge amount of money that could be put back into the Medicare system for the next generation.
Well, there she goes. It finally happened.
What? What happened?
It says here that Medicare and Medicaid are being phased out on June 30th of this year. They will cease to exist.
What do you mean cease to exist?
I mean, kaput. Gone for good. The government will no longer help the seniors, and the disabled pay for their hospital and doctor bills.
Yeah, how can it happen? Why would the government stop helping over 100 million senior citizens and disabled with the benefits from Medicare and Medicaid?
This article says that dishonest claims involving fraud and abuse had risen to over $100 billion annually.
Could we have stopped Medicare and Medicaid from going away?
It seems to me like 25 years ago, you know, there was a group called Senior Medicare, but that was it, Senior Medicare Patrol, and they almost begged us to help them.
Yeah, we went to the briefing, had that good-looking Japanese boy.
That's the one.
Oh, yeah, I
That's
remember
the
that.
one. And they said they needed us to help them stop the losses. And they had a simple mantra. It was, help me out, detect.
Protect. Regulate.
No. Detect.
And
Report.
Protect, detect. That's right. Protect, detect, report.
And they said since we were at the front lines reviewing our Medicare summary notices, that we were the first ones that we could, you know, help put a stop to that. Play a major role.
Yeah, I remember that too, but I thought, one person like me, not gonna have much of an effect or problem, so I kind of just brushed it off, I ignored it, and then I just forgot all about it.
We rely heavily on our volunteers to get the word out. So we have volunteers in every county, over 70 statewide. They are trained and certified in Medicare, and they get trained on different things, giving presentations, the different types of plans and Medicare basics. They also do counseling. They provide information at fairs, and we're just starting Senior Medicare Patrol classes as well. So, and of course the Drama Club, which is a big hit.
What Honolulu building boasted having the largest clock for over 4 decades? The answer is Aloha Tower, built in 1926. This was the tallest building in the islands until the 1960s, and its clock was one of the largest in the United States. And there you have it, another show empowering our seniors to take charge of their lives. I'm Brickwood Galateria. Join me next week for another episode of Kupuna Power. Aloha.